welcome to this week's episode of Get Booked. I'm Mary.
I'm Jennifer.
Hey, and guess what we're talking about today, Jen?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about books that fall into the theme of Hispanic Heritage Month. And when is Hispanic Heritage Month?
So Hispanic Heritage Month falls between September 15th and October 15th.
Yes.
And we have many displays throughout the library with some of these books and many others.
Yes, and we have also some really good books we'll talk about that are checked out, so you can place a hold on them.
That's true.
What do you have first?
Alright, first up I have La Madre Goose. Nursery rhymes for Los Ninos. Obviously this is the Mother Goose in Spanish. This one is actually a bilingual book. We do have a small Spanish collection in our children's department. There are picture books, there are chapter books, there are some books in between, and there are some bilingual books, some books that are just in Spanish, and there's some fun vocabulary words.
Ooh, that sounds great. It does. So I have a middle grade graphic novel that I really love. It's called Hotel Dare. It's written by Terry Blas, and it's colored and illustrated by Claudia Aguirre. And they are both Latinx creators too. So I think they're both from Mexico. And it's really cool. So Charlotte has just been adopted into this family, and she's still trying to figure out where she fits in it, and she's just like, oh, they're going to get rid of me, because she's about probably 9 or 10, so she's been through the foster system. And they end up at the grandmother's hotel, and they're staying there for like part of the summer, and the grandmother like puts them to work, and they end up cleaning rooms, and they, unbeknownst to everybody, each of them, when they're cleaning rooms, finds doorways to other worlds. So like one world is this weird cotton candy alien world, there's another world that has like space pirates, and then another world that's like a fantasy realm with like a really stupid wizard. He's really pretty, but he's really stupid. And there's also a little bit of a mystery, because what happened to Abuelo, we don't know. But like, you know, it turns out the grandmother has been looking for him forever, and there's some really cool Day of the Dead iconography in this and stuff. And it's just a really cool book about family and a little bit of a mystery. So what do you have next?
Thanks. I've got Sweet Shapes. This is part of our concept books, and the pictures are so fun. So the shapes are actually little bits of food. So this one is, the shape is a line, and they're chocolate dipped pretzel mice, which is super cute. Triangles are lemon tart goldfinches. Just a really fun book to read and enjoy together. And if you like this one, there is one called One Big Salad, which is about counting, and then there's an ABC one all about pasta.
It's making me hungry.
Right?
Cool. So my next one is just like a middle grade YA graphic novel. It's called Jonesy. Jonesy is a kid who is convinced she can make people fall in love. But she herself does not want to fall in love. However, she wants to set up all of her classmates. And I believe, like, their dad owns a donut shop, too, so that kind of figures into it a little bit. So it's just like a really fun little realistic fiction story where this kid thinks that she can control love. Can she? Can she not? Will there be hijinks? Most definitely. Alright.
That's going to go horribly wrong.
Oh, yes.
Alright, my next book is new. We just got it in on the shelf. It is Selena. And the artwork is really great. It's by Silvia Lopez and illustrated by Pablo Escobar. Here is some of the artwork. So it's really just about Selena's life. This is part of our People and Places, our picture book biographies section. It's just fun.
Cool. So my next one technically is not by a Latinx writer, but it features a Latinx character that we love at the library. So this is Miles Morales. And if you know that Miles' story, like, he's biracial. So his dad is African American, but his mom is Puerto Rican. And he lives in New York City. But yeah, so this is his original complete run, and then we also have the YA book that Jason Reynolds wrote, as well as the new Miles Morales that's come out recently that Saladin Ahmed, I think, is writing. Don't hold me to that with Arthur, but like we have the new Miles Morales as well. So always good for a superhero book.
Nice. My next book is one that I've been wanting to read. It's called The Moon Within, and it's about a girl, Celia, and it's kind of like it's a middle grade book, so her body is changing. She's coming into new feelings, new thoughts. And her mom wants her to participate in the ancestor ritual when you get your first period. It's called the moon ceremony. And she's like, no, thank you, not at all. So it's kind of about her changing, getting your period, things of that nature.
Cool. So my next book is an adult book. This is a classic. It's Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Love in the Time of Cholera. I loved this book when I read it. So it is about Florentino, who fell in love with Fermina when they were younger, but they did not get married. Something happened and they were separated, and she chose to marry somebody like really wealthy, and he wasn't wealthy. But then her husband has suddenly died, and in their older age, like Florentino is just like dusts himself off and is like tries to go courting. But there's a lot more to the story than that, and it's very beautifully written, and it will make you cry. It's so great. But yes, this was a great book. Whoops. Your turn.
My next book is The Epic Fail of Arturo Zamora.
I love this book.
It was really fun.
So good.
So this is a middle grade book. Arturo is 13. He lives in Miami. His family lives all around him. They all kind of work in his abuela's restaurant. Except that there's a developer who comes in and he wants the restaurant land. He wants to buy up the whole block and he wants to do all of these things. And he sounds a little too good to be true. And Arturo is like, no, you're not taking my family's restaurant. This is not happening. And he kind of tries to set up a bunch of roadblocks to make that not happen. Really great family middle grade story.
Yes. Our next book we have came out, I think about a year ago. It's called Fruit of the Drunken Tree by Ingrid Rojas Contreras. And it is a story that takes place in, it takes place in Colombia during the height of Pablo Escobar's reign, who was like a really horrible drug lord. And the little girl in the story lives in like a gated community and it's like really safe and stuff, but the maid that starts working at her house who's a teenager, lives in a not so great part of town, and so it's kind of like you have these two worlds kind of colliding, and there's like some secrets that happen, and of course like the teen maid is in love with some people that maybe get wrapped up in some things. So it's like a really good, like, I guess you would call it historical fiction, although it doesn't feel that long ago, but it is. So that one is very well reviewed. NPR loved it. Check it out.
My next book is a Pride and Prejudice retelling called Pride. This is one I've also been wanting to read for a while. So Zeri lives in Brooklyn. She is she's Afro-Latino, and she is, of course, she's very proud because that's who she is. And then a wealthy family, the Darcys, move across the street, and of course things happen.
I bet the son is a real jerk.
I bet he is too, and I bet she has some very interesting and colorful, fun sisters.
No way.
What? So check this one out.
Cool. So our next book, it is currently checked out, but it is great. So it's Isabel Allende's A Long Petal of the Sea. If you like historical fiction and you're an adult, this is a book for you. This takes place in the 1930s when the Civil War is broken out in Spain. And so the main characters are trying to flee the fascists, and they end up in Argentina. But part of it is the woman in the story, her husband is dead, but she ends up having to marry the brother of her husband, widowed husband, the brother of the deceased husband, to get out and to get into Argentina. And so they end up on this cruise ship, or not cruise ship, the ship called the SS Winnipeg, that's chartered by Pablo Neruda to get to Chile, excuse me. And so it's just basically the story of like two people who don't want to be in a marriage that are in these weird times, and like how they get swept up in the events and like where their life takes them. And it's very, very beautifully written. Everyone should read this book.
That's funny, because that's a kind of similar plot to The Worst Best Man by Mia Soso. So
I feel like there's a romance trope about to happen.
It is. So Carolina, she is just about to get married when the best man Also, the brother of the groom comes in and is like, yeah, my brother is not coming.
Oof.
And she's just like, what? And he's just like, yeah, we had some beers last night, and I was talking to him about marriage, and all of a sudden we decided that this wasn't a good idea. And she's just like, oh my god, I hate you, get out. And,
yes.
Yes. So fast forward, she is now working as a wedding planner. She's very meticulous about details. She gets this opportunity to have her business be in a hotel and do the hotel's events. But she has to audition for it, and there's 2 people for the spot. In walks the marketing team, which is none other than the brother and the ex-groom. And she, of course, doesn't want any drama to take away from this job opportunity that she really needs, and so she just holds out her hand and says, nice to meet you. Of course, things spiral out of there, things go possibly terribly wrong, terribly right. There's a romance, potentially. It's very much, if you like the Hallmark movies or the movies on Netflix, this is great. It's funny, it's sweet. There's a lot of family love. I loved it. It was super good.
So you want to see that Hallmark movie?
I want to see it made into a Hallmark movie or Netflix. I'm not picky.
Cool. So my last book is a book that I want to read so bad, but it keeps getting checked out because it is so very good and there's so much hype about it, and I wish I bought a book club set of it. So it's called Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So if you are looking for a spooky book, because we're in sweater weather time and we're leading up to Halloween, read this book. It's very, very good. We have it. It's checked out. Please put a hold on it. It's so good. So the author set out to write a Gothic novel, essentially, that takes place in Mexico. And so the way it happens is that Noemia Taboda ends up having to go to this really isolated giant house in the Mexican countryside to meet up with her cousin. And her cousin has just married like a really aloof, kind of like odd Englishman. And she goes there, and it's this huge rambling house, and like there's lots of dark corners and whatnot, and she has all these horrible dreams, and like, you know, she's like this glamorous debutante, so she has like all these great dresses and fashion and whatnot, and she's in the middle of nowhere. And there's like the only person she seems to kind of make friends with is like the really shy son of the Englishman. And there's like clearly some very dark family secrets, and so she's trying to figure out like what is going on here. And so it's very good. So it's a very different type of like spooky horror book, and I am here for it, as should you be. So that is my last book. So, alright, cool. So thank you for joining us this week. We hope we have introduced you to some new reads you may not have thought about before. We have plenty of them on our displays. Please come check them out. So we'll see you next week.